All right, it's J Leman, All-American linebacker, joining us to talk about not so fun to watch. 34-23, Illinois loss at Kansas, and the score makes it look closer than it actually was, as Kansas took a 34-7 lead early in the third quarter, Jay. Illinois looked unprepared from the start. What went so wrong?
We haven't seen something like that since, maybe Virginia, maybe Wisconsin, 2021. It looked like Lovie Smith defense, to be honest. I mean, let's just be right. And Brett said in his press conference, we've got to reevaluate. I'm paraphrasing. We've got to reevaluate and assess what we're doing defensively. One thing I loved about since Brett's gotten here is we've largely looked so competent in the last 20 or so games, and such a breath of fresh air. We kind of have this feeling that Brett knows what's going on. He's got a great grasp on the program, and we're headed in the right direction. I still feel that way, but after you have a game like this, leaves a lot to be desired, and I guess from a very macro level, I would say that we've gotten behind in each game, have not been able to run the ball like we want to run the ball. Not necessarily because we couldn't. We could run the ball against Kansas. We're just too far behind.
Yep.
So, again, getting too far behind and spotting them some touchdowns. Bad 2-minute defense. Bad defense altogether. And undisciplined and just sloppy play overall fundamentally. I think that from the big picture standpoint is what's concerning to me.
Yeah, Jay, I think these two teams they played are good, and they have good offenses.
Sure.
But still, I mean, if you're raising the expectation of this program, it's to compete with Kansas on the road. It's to beat Toledo, right? So I know all these fans saying, well, look at these offenses. They're going to be great. Yeah, but if you want Illinois to be great, they got to be better. So, I mean, we expected some defensive regression, Jay, from the number one scoring defense. But what does concern you most through 2 games of this season? And what do you think Aaron Henry and Brett Bielema and Andy Boo and Terrence Jameson, all these guys need to reevaluate?
I don't think we gave up 400 yards a game in the game last year. We've done that the first 2 weeks of the season, over 500 against Kansas. I don't remember the last time I saw 20 plays of 10 yards or more. That's a whole season of an elite defensive explosive play right there in one game. So I'm very concerned about the explosive plays defensively. There are some players that are playing well. There are also some players and schemes that are simply not working. They had receivers way too wide open. I know Jalen Daniels made a lot of different plays and whatnot. I guess I'm most concerned about this. What can our back end do, and what can they do well? I mean, we can't play the man coverage that we played last year. I think that's pretty much well known, because we don't have the guys, at least right now, developed into where – I'm not saying Xavier Scott couldn't be that. I think Xavier Scott makes a lot of plays, and Xavier's probably a guy who played better. Taz probably needs to play better. Taz Nicholson. I think Tyler Strain coming off of the injury wasn't his best, right? So, I mean, there's a lot. I think Matthew Bailey, maybe getting him back. So, from the defensive back perspective, we got to be better. Number 2, the linebackers, quite frankly, got exposed early in this game. It seemed like if I look at the 15-play script that Lance Leipold wrote, or his offensive coordinator wrote, probably a third of those plays isolated linebackers in man-to-man coverage on the back or the number 3 receiver. We saw a lot of wheel routes. We saw a lot of throwbacks. Tariq Barnes gave up a touchdown on one. They tried to attack Rosiak on one. Rosiak actually had decent coverage into the end zone on that play. So it's not like they didn't know what to do, but like on that critical 3rd or 4th down early in the game, they just did a little flare pass to Tariq Barnes, had him, and there's no way he could even get there in time to get to the edge. So they had it schemed up as far as what we would be in, when we would be in it, and really isolated our back 7. As far as the defensive line goes, I still want to see more pressure from Gabe Akis and Seth Coleman. I just don't think we're getting the pressure we thought they would get out of them. And then I feel like they start to press and maybe get overly aggressive on some contain issues. And I know we've played Jalen Daniels, DeQuan Finn. I will say I saw Keith and Johnny give incredible effort. I mean, I think Johnny would have had 4 or 5 sacks against a pro-style quarterback. I don't think you can knock Johnny Newton for what he did. But, I think the play that would define the game the most, I think, was Johnny Newton pressuring Jalen Daniels near the goal line, their own goal line. He's the only guy chasing around, a 195-pound quarterback. He's a 300-pound man, and he's giving incredible effort. Jalen Daniels escapes, makes a 30-yard throw down the field. That was the epitome of the game right there. Johnny Newton getting pressure, Jalen Daniels escaping, and hitting someone down the field wide open. Listen, we also can't – it's not all the DBs. I know I keep going. You can't cover guys for 4 or 5 seconds. I don't care if you're Devin Witherspoon. Maybe Devin Witherspoon. Okay. But someone else, other guys cannot do that. And so it was difficult. I covered a lot of ground there defensively.
Yeah.
The holes.
One of the questions I'm going to have for Aaron Henry is, what do you want the identity of this defense to be? And what do you think they can be, Jay? Because it's obvious they don't trust the secondary as much. There's a lot more zone coverage. When they do go man, it seems like it's better, in my opinion, but you're going to give up some chunk plays because your DBs can't hang. So what do you think the identity for Aaron Henry's defense needs to be? And what do you think his big adjustment 2 games in as a defense coordinator needs to be?
First of all, for young players, usually man-to-man is easier to learn than some of the different zone concepts. We used to call it cat coverage. I got that cat, you got that cat, you got that cat, right? So sometimes man-to-man is. Here's what I would do is, especially now that we're kind of getting out of some of the ultra athletic quarterbacks. Now, Drew Aller, very good player. Watched 2 games of him play. I mean, he's probably him and McCarthy, probably the most polished quarterbacks in the Big Ten that we'll probably see. But I think we've got to go all in on pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
I think we've got to bring pressure with our linebackers because we're not covering great. Tariq Barnes has shown to be an admirable blitzer as well. He can blitz. Rosiak, we haven't seen enough of him. But get some games up front. Get Gabe Backus moving more. Get Seth. Let's utilize their athleticism. Many times when you play a team that is smaller than you, you will see the D-line move a lot because they can't beat you man-to-man. I would say that we should be able to beat guys up front. And Johnny can, and Keith does. But as far as those other guys, I want to see them use their athleticism more. Let's play some more games up front. Let's bring more pressure. Because I think we're simply not getting to the quarterback enough, creating enough negative plays, or getting the ball out quick enough, that is, to give our DBs a real chance. So I think our identity has to be, hey, stop the run, put pressure to quarterback. We have not done great on first down, though. And that's hampered a lot of what we've been able to call on second and third down because the run game defense has not been nearly as stout as we thought it would be.
Yeah, and I want to get into that in our film room, Jay, kind of focusing up front and talking linebackers. But I want to address it on the podcast here too. Kansas attacked linebackers from the start. That first, series, it was like 5 straight attack the linebackers. What do they need there? Is there anything personnel-wise they got to change, or what do Dylan, Tariq, Kanena when he gets in there, Ryan Mead really struggled. Like, what do they need to do in there?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I will tell you this. The zone read game, when done right with a good quarterback, as Illinois fans know, with Juice Williams, and Juice would probably not the most accurate thrower, but certainly a very adept at the zone read. It's difficult to stop when it's done right. And what I love about Lance Leipold is they mixed it up. They made an A gap bigger. They made a B gap bigger. They made sometimes on the zone read, they would give it and hit the running back would hit inside. Sometimes hit outside. Sometimes Jalen Daniels would just follow the running back right behind him. Sometimes he would go really wide. Sometimes he had the option to throw the ball after it. So, and then they have guys, in front of them pulling one direction and then us going, and then Jalen Daniels going the opposite direction. That gives the linebackers different keys. So I will say, listen, this is a tough game, right? Not only are you doing the zone read, but you're also, you had man-to-man coverage a lot on the backs, out of the backfield. And so there was a lot on the plate. But as far as what do we need, I think it's really simple when you're a linebacker. It's like, okay, I've got to defeat the guy that's trying to block me. Look, if I'm in the box, I've always got to defeat my one-on-one matchup. I saw a lot of Velcro out there. What do I mean by Velcro? Man, when the tight ends owned our linebackers for Kansas, I mean, there was a tight end that when he locked on our linebackers, we could not simply get off. I didn't see a bunch of using the hands, press off, disengage. So first and foremost, before we get about anything, is I've got to defeat my block. And then I've got to feel where the ball is going, not guessing, but based on my keys. Okay. There's always going to be a quarterback player. There's going to be a zone player, but I've got to defeat my block first. I can't be a JV guy and look over the block and then somebody pushes me back into the back. That's like trying to fight somebody with your eyes closed, right? It's just not going to happen. So I didn't see disengagement on blocks. Okay. Number two, because you're not disengaged in time, the ball is running past you while you're getting off a block and you're making a tackle 7-8 yards on the field if you make a tackle. Our defensive backs are leading us in tackles. Never a good sign, guys, right? It was never a good sign. It's never a good sign when the defensive backs lead you in tackles. They're making all the tackles because, obviously they're unblocked. I also thought our defensive backs on the edge couldn't get off a block as well. We could not disengage. I actually didn't think that the D-line was they struggled a little bit, but I thought really it was the back seven that couldn't disengage on the run blocks at all. And so I think it has to defeat the block, recognize the play, and make the play before anything. Maybe James Crute's the guy we see get in. He's made some plays on special teams. They've been high on him. We haven't seen him get many reps. But yeah, I thought Tariq Barnes was going to be a strength of this team. I think he knows he can play better than he's played the first two games, and I think he's talented enough.
I want to take a minute and tell you about Home Field. They are a premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis. They emphasize their commitment to creating incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. They feature a growing collection of over 150 plus colleges to choose from, including, of course, the University of Illinois. Home Field designs are super unique, guys, because they delve into the archives and history of each school, including Illinois, and they use unique logos and iconic moments to create thoughtfully designed apparel. So if you go to homefieldapparel.com, you can see the 80s Illini football helmet that so many like, Flying Illini logo, the Illinois basketball logo from the 2004-2005 Illini team. The script Illini is there. And you guys, these are the most comfortable shirts. And that's what I love about Home Field Apparel. You get the comfort, but you also get authenticity and nostalgia. So I'm telling you guys, give their site a look. It's not the typical Illinois gear you usually see. You can find them at homefieldapparel.com, where you can see their collection of colleges available. And guess what? Our listeners at Illini Inquirer get 15% off their first order with discount code Illini23. Again, 15% off your first order at homefieldapparel.com with discount code Illini23. So, as you go to Illinois football games, get ready for the Illinois basketball season, Home Field Apparel is the perfect apparel to get you ready for the upcoming season. So check them out at homefieldapparel.com. I do want to bring up one positive. Johnny Newton was incredible, Jay. Just an incredible game, and I agree with you. If that wasn't Jalen Daniels back there, he probably has 4 sacks, but he ended up with 2.
And it wasn't for – they tried to double-team him some. They tried to I think what makes Johnny so unique as an interior lineman, they would call him a 4-eye. That's just a technique that he would be. But basically an inline defensive end in a 3-4 concept. What makes him so unique is the amount of quarterback pressure he gets from that position. That's historically not a huge sack position or pressure position. To get as much pressure as he gets, he's very solid in the run game. But I think what makes Johnny unique, he plays with incredible effort, number one. But number two, he gets more pressure from that position than I think anybody else in the country. Well, we saw the quarterback pressures, but that's historically not a huge pressure position for a guy. They'll make some plays, but he's unique in that. So I do want to give Johnny props. I even saw Keith play hard. I saw Keith run people down. I mean, he ran Jalen Daniels down one time, 7 or 8 downs on the field, I think. And so I think they're playing hard. I don't think it's a lack of effort, but they need more than just those guys. Yeah, and with those outside linebackers, Jay, sometimes I felt like they were better on especially that option stuff, stretching the field. But I think Gabe Akis a couple of times just got over aggressive and lost his contain. Like those guys, I felt like were in position more times to make the play. Right. They just weren't able to make it. Well, I think too, like the Gabe Akis thing, like you can always tell when a defensive, an outside linebacker gets over aggressive because they turn their hips to run sideline, toward the sideline, which allows, a quarterback to cut back because his feet are square. You got to stay square to the line of scrimmage because if I stay square, I can move this way or I can move this way. The moment I turn my legs this way, I got to turn all the way around that way. Did you guys get that with my hand motions? I got you. What we saw, if you go back and look at the film, is they're just committing and crashing down too hard rather than shuffling down the line, staying square and being able to break back. And I get it. When you're a defensive end and you have a chance to make a hit on the quarterback, I want to be aggressive too, right? We got to remember, Gabe Akis doesn't have a ton of snaps under his belt at the college level. He is a man-child, so sometimes we think, that maybe he's older than he is. I think he's still got some growing pains to grow, but I think he's going to be a great football player. I think he can be dominant this year. But Seth Coleman, we've got to have him be disciplined. It didn't mean this last year. We've got to have more production out of those guys.
All right, Jay, let's switch to the offense. I thought the run game, when they ran, looked pretty dang good. I was really encouraged by the running backs, by the movement the offensive line was getting up front. But it doesn't matter when you're down 34-7 or 28-7 or 21-0.
Right.
Illinois, they got to play better complementary football. The offense has to get off to a better start, that's for sure. But I was actually encouraged by the running game. It didn't matter in this game.
Yeah, I would say this. The offense may sound dumb, but so many offenses, including Barry Lunney's, look so much better after that first down. If we don't get that first down, there's almost no rhythm, no setting up the defense back and forth, right? And it's like almost from the start, Reggie Love, I think, slipped on that first play. And it's like, okay, now we're behind. Then he runs like an 8-yard run. It's like 3rd and 4, unable to convert. And I never thought we got in rhythm. So we weren't able to run the ball to set up these conflict scenarios that we could run, we could pass. Usually it's like it's a run or it's a pass or Altmaier making something happen. And because of that, we saw a lack of separation from receivers. I was unimpressed with our separation. And I think you got a guy like Isaiah, or you got a guy like, first half for Isaiah, but a guy like Pat Bryant, I thought would have more separation. Pat didn't have a great game. He knows he can play better. That was probably, a 2-year ago game, Pat Bryant. Pat needs to play better. They need to catch the ball. Altmaier had 2 picks and, when the ball got knocked out and we catch, but I saw a lack of separation. And part of that is the offense knows that you got to throw because we're 3rd and 8. And so it's like, okay, let's lock down where we're playing defense on, 3rd and 2. And so it's definitely an issue.
Zy Chrysler in this game allowed 4 sacks. He's allowed 10 pressures in 2 games. I almost felt for him a little bit, Jay, because he's barely practiced this entire year with spring ball and then training camp. But it's hard to find tackles, right? It's really hard to find tackles. He looks more like a guard right now. But what would you do at tackle? Would you change things around? Do you have to give him more chip help? What do you do if you're Illinois after 2 games of really struggling on that right side?
Yeah, so there's a couple things you can do. One, you can move Zy. I thought Zy had a great season last year, in first year major college football, playing at the guard position. Zy's a good football player, and when you haven't repped it, and when you have, I believe it was an ankle injury, and so there's probably not a lineman position that has to use their feet more than left or right tackle. So I do think that's affected Zy. Okay, but if he's not healthy and he's banged up, then maybe we need to move him in. Or there's a couple things we can do. You can always pair a tight end with him. Tip Ryman over there with him to help out. You can have a back over there to chip. I think we might see a couple more max protection plays from Illinois, 1- and 2-man routes. Okay. Now, usually that works when you have 2nd and 3, and it's like, okay, they're going to run the ball. Let's bring in 2 tight ends and a running back. You keep the 2 tight ends in and the running back. You max protect. I have 5 linemen, 7 and 8 protecting, 1 guy throwing the football and 2 receivers going out. And it's a real easy read for, for Luke on, okay, who am I going to and whatnot? And he has time to throw the football. I think we're going to have to see that more, but we're going to have to do that by running the ball good on first down, right? Because we're not going to run that set most likely in a 3rd and long situation. So it's all kind of coming down to, hey, if we're not better on first down, then throw the protection out, throw everything out, because we just got to somehow get a first down and hope Altmaier can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, Luke Altmaier, there's probably a couple of throws he wants back there, Jay, but
sure.
What'd you make of his performance, again, leading the team in rushing and sparking the offense there in the second half?
Here's the thing. Luke's got a lot of moxie. I give him a lot of credit, right? I thought his composure during that game when stuff was going downhill, for the ability to get some points on the board, and his ability to run the football and be tough when there were some really tight windows that he had to throw the football into. It wasn't all great, right? But if there was a bright spot for Illinois, Luke Altmaier was probably that guy. I think What's exciting about Luke is he's got a grittiness to him that I didn't know that he would have, but I've seen him have that grittiness and fight back and ability to make plays with his feet. But I think he's also got the accuracy that if we can start developing our passing game week to week, year to year, I think this guy could be a really special player as a junior and senior. There's a reason he had offers. There's a reason, that he was highly touted. I really like his accuracy in the catchable ball, but most importantly, I've liked his moxie. His style. I'm certainly not comparing him to someone here, so don't take this. But the way he moves his feet, kind of his size, kind of the way the ball comes out, reminds you a little bit of Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's Drew Brees, but he reminds me with his footwork, his stature, the way his ball comes out. It's not a laser. It's accurate. It's catchable. He kind of has that feel to him, right? And so I like some of that. He's got a long way to become Drew Brees, so Hall of Fame quarterback. But I'm saying you see some similar stuff in the style of play.
One positive of this offense, Jay, has been the red zone. They're 7 for 7 with 5 touchdowns in the red zone so far this year. One big negative has been those short yardage situations. So I want to give credit to Lunny on one thing, and then the other one, I think Griffin Moore play obviously stood out. Brett said after the game, we got to figure out our identity in those short yardage situations. But they have found it seemingly in the red zone, and Luke Altmaier's certainly helped down there. So what do you make of those two?
What's interesting to me is that this is a trend in college football, and I haven't seen it go great. Okay, so let me give you some examples. We don't want to get our quarterback hit, right? Because DeVito snuck it 3-4 times a year last year, right? It was pretty good at sneak. And you get behind and do the Bush push, which is now legal. You push the quarterback, right? But what I was watching Maryland, and they take Talia Tagovailoa out to put Billy Edwards in, and Billy Edwards tries to sneak it, drops the snap. Okay, I saw Cole Kmet, do a Griffin Moore yesterday, and on a 4th and 1, and got no push at all, right? I mean, nothing, right? I also saw maybe because Justin Fields tried to do it as well and jumped, and he didn't get it either, right? So this whole thing about what do we do? We've just way overthought it. Okay, think of 2 or 3 plays that you can real confident with. Get right behind, Isaiah Adams behind, and just follow him and fall forward and have the running back or tip get behind the quarterback and carry the quarterback over.
What about Josh McCray? Isn't that what Josh McCray's for?
Yeah, sure. Josh McCray pushed somebody or something like that. But here's the deal: if it's 3rd and a half a yard, usually just going to give it to you in the sneak. That's just because they're going to give you forward progress. We've got to get better push up front though on the 3rd 1 and 2s and 3s for sure.
I'm very excited to announce a new partnership with Underdog Fantasy. We decided to partner with Underdog because it's the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Underdog Fantasy has a lot to offer, including their Pick'em game. In Pick'em, you pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can more than 20 times your amount of money by going 5 for 5. They also have a Best Ball Mania. If you think you know football, you got to check this one out. This year's Best Ball Mania has $50 million in total prizes up for grabs, with the winner taking home $3 million. So sign up today with promo code Illini and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code Illini to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. You must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ncpgambling.org. All right, Jay, I knew it'd be a tough schedule to start. You and I talked about that. Going on the road at any Power 5 team is not easy. In Kansas, certainly, what Lance Leipold is doing is really impressive. Toledo's a really good program, probably will win the MAC. And then you got Penn State this week. But you talked about your concern after week 1. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you through 2 games about this team, given the expectations we have?
I'm very concerned. I told you after week 2 last year, I was not concerned about losing to Indiana. I was mad about losing to Indiana. But again, I saw the consistency up front that we really dominated them in every facet of that football game. Every facet we dominated in. So I wasn't concerned. I thought we would be good. I'm really concerned because I don't think we have a defense we can hang our hat on yet. think we have players playing. I don't think we have an offensive line that has shown we can consistently run the ball when we want to run the ball. There's windows where we can run the ball decent, right? So my concern level is high. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being no concern and 10 being concerned, I'm an 8. I really am. I think the offense will come around. I'm a little concerned that we didn't get separation and a lack of big plays. I do think it's going to be a totally different called ball game if we don't spot them 3 touchdowns. So I want to give them a fair chance. The defense has wholesale issues. It is what it is. There's wholesale issues defensively that don't look to be able to be fixed immediately. I'm not saying we can't improve. I think Brett's teams have largely improved throughout the year. We did have that 3-game swoon last year at a critical time late in the year. But those are my concern levels that high. And Penn State makes it more concerning.
Yeah, that you wish the Florida Atlantic game maybe was coming up now, or another Big Ten West game.
I mean, here's the thing. I went on record, I think, as a Champaign Rotary or something, and I went on record and said, hey, I think we're going to have a good year, but I wouldn't be too concerned if we're 2-2 or 1-3 at the end of September. That kind of shocked the crowd a little bit, but I just know, and don't sleep on FAU and Tom Herman and Coach Werner, and just they got athletes over there. It's one of those American Conference teams, I believe, that always beat somebody they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And so I knew it was going to be like this, and I knew Penn State and what they had coming back. I think they're currently my favorite to win the Big Ten. I mean, over Ohio State and over Michigan. When I look at, we hear coaches talk about, I want to get better at execution. I heard all the press conferences this year at Big Ten Network after every game. It's like, we got a lot to clean up. It's like these guys are janitors or something. I mean, as much as they talk about we got a lot to clean up, but you look at Penn State, they haven't had much to clean up. Now, they haven't played that good a competition. West Virginia's average. Delaware Blue Hens, I think they might still be running the wing tee. I'm kidding, but they used to be the famous wing tee team. They look really good. And so if we play, like we did, which I believe someone asked that question, probably would not be good, right? So in the press conference, but we could the Lions could hang half 100, as Barry Switzer would say, hang half 100 on this Illini ID in a heartbeat with their running backs, quarterback, and receivers if we don't change what we're doing.
Yeah. So what do you want to see, Jay? Obviously, I don't know if anybody's expecting a win, but you want to see some competitiveness. So how do they do that? First
of all, I don't think Drew Aller's been hit. I mean, here's a guy that's a 5-star guy, I think number 3 in the country, throws a great ball, is a good player. I don't think he's been hit. Now, they've got one of the better offensive lines around. They've got 2 really big backs in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. I don't know if it's just the white pants, but for some reason, Penn State running backs always have tree trunk legs. I don't know if it's Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders. I mean, you just go down the list. They always are huge. Kijana Carter from
I was going to say right? Kijana Carter back in the day.
They're just I don't know, but they're just built different. My son always says like, oh yeah, Justin Jefferson built different. I'm like, dude, these guys are built different, right? So pretty remarkable as far as their size goes and their weapons on the outside. I think we need to pressure them. So stop the run on first down and then pressure the quarterback. We haven't necessarily been able to do that. This is not an ideal situation. I don't think we match up well on the outside with some of their weapons. So I don't think we can give 3-4 seconds for Drew Aller to throw the football. I want to see an aggressive pressure, whatever that looks like. Give us a chance. Offensively, they're pretty good on defense too. Nicholas Carter, probably one of the better linebackers in the country. And their corner, probably a first-round pick as well. At every level, they've got maybe a first-round pick. So this is a team that's pretty stacked. But I will say Penn State has a game or two every year where they lose to a team they should not lose. It was 2 years ago they lost to us, right? So I don't think it's not a winnable game. I mean, it's probably winnable. The chances are probably not great the way we've been playing. But I do not underestimate Brett's ability to make a turnaround in this thing. I think we got the right guy at the helm.
Big Ten West gives you some opportunities, though. I kind of want to keep that in the horizon here. Is Purdue had a nice win, but Wisconsin lost. It was exactly what we thought Iowa would be, and that's why I picked them to wins because I know what they're going to be. But there's a lot of opportunities still left on that schedule. That's why you got to see improvement, Jay. If you see some improvement this week, you take that into FAU and you build on it, and you take that into Purdue. you feel like this team can still have a really good season.
Yeah, there's winnable games on the schedule, right? I mean, Purdue, Nebraska does not look good. Jeff Sims, although, highly experienced, kept the turnover bug from Georgia Tech, and was dropping balls all over the place. Minnesota's Minnesota. I mean, it's just so typical Minnesota, running the ball, 56 rush attempts, watching that Eastern Michigan game, and they're going to shorten the game and do that. But at the same time, these teams are 2-0. Not Wisconsin, but like I said, there is opportunity in this league, especially this year, to still go to a bowl game, to still have a successful season, but we got to see improvement.
Yeah. J Leman, thanks for making us football smart as always. Talk next week, man.
You got it, man.